All right, so how long does this have to keep going before we come up with a solution? I'm afraid if I don't try to intervene and build a bridge of understanding on both sides, that is just going to keep on going for way too long. So in this episode, I hope we can build bridges that help save lives. So are you ready? Because I am. Let's get started. Protesters of all ages, all races, all backgrounds are showing up at these Black Lives Matter protest rallies, and they're doing it for the love of their fellow human beings. The key word here that I want everybody to remember is their fellow human beings. Because even though you're a Republican or Democrat, we're all humans at the end of the day. And before we even get into that video, here's a video here showing you guys how you can have two different political views, but you can still be civil.
And we end tonight in Washington, D.C. with a reminder, away from the podiums and protests that amplify our political differences, in quieter moments, people can still politely disagree and be kind to one another. Here's our Chip Reid.
Cauliflower sandwich.
Rosalind Harris says she was feeling energized Monday morning after attending the Women's March on Washington. She was waiting tables at D.C.'s Busboys and Poets when Jason White and two friends walked in.
This is a very liberal, eclectic kind of place.
Yes.
So they stuck out a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
She assumed they were in town to attend the inauguration, and she was right.
He said, I'm from West Texas. We don't have this. We don't have places where we can come get this kind of food, feel this kind of atmosphere.
They talked throughout the meal.
It made me happy that he felt like he could express himself in that way and, like, be honest, like, look, I'm not from here. I know you know I'm not from here. And she's like...
After he left, she picked up the receipt and was surprised to see a note, which she read for us.
We may come from different cultures and may disagree on certain issues, but if everyone would share their smile and kindness, like your beautiful smile, our country will come together as one people, not race, not gender, just American. God bless. Yeah, and then I looked to the left and there's this crazy number.
What crazy number?
$450.
$450.
Yeah.
A $450 tip.
I was shocked, and I definitely messed up on an order directly after.
We tracked down Jason, a Texas dentist, and connected him to Rosalind on FaceTime.
Fancy meeting you here.
Oh my God, it's so good to see you.
I do have a question. Why $450?
So, I mean, because I'm a Trump supporter and he's the 45th president, it's not about a white Trump supporter giving a generous tip to a black waitress. It's about a American being generous to another American.
At the end of the call, there was a virtual hug.
Yeah, big hug. I'll give you.
Seeing how that Trump supporter left that big tip and powerful message for that DC waitress shows me, and I hope it shows you guys, how even though we have difference in opinions when it comes to politics, that we can still be civil with each other, and we don't have to take it to those extreme measures where we just have to go into an all-out civil war. Out of love for George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and out of love for all the black people who lost their life due to the color of their skin, they say you can feel the love in the atmosphere when you go to one of these protests. And I'm talking about the Black Lives Matter protest. So in this video, I hope you guys can open your eyes to the pain of the movement and try to understand more than you dismiss the concerns. So let's just jump into that video right now.
At the intersection of Catawba and Clark, a coming together of North Side neighbors for political change in Chicago and in the country.
It's good to see.
Bella Moe is one of the dozens here today, part of a growing voice in some parts of the nation to reform public safety.
We really do need all of us out here doing this work.
For years, the chants of Black Lives Matter has echoed, born from the cases of lives taken in the United States. It was the recorded death of George Floyd in Minneapolis that sparked a renewed call to reform how policing is done. Activists have called it defunding police. Several major cities are now either looking into or have passed legislation to remake police departments. For now, Chicago is not one of them.
They need to hear from you.
40th Ward Alderman Andre Vasquez, an activist turned politician, sees this differently when it comes to Chicago's nearly $1.8 billion spent on policing efforts.
You look at those funds and you decide, can I better reallocate them for things that are going to yield better results? And you invested it in housing, food insecurity, mental health. So it's a better use of those funds rather than funding officers who are a reactive public measure because they only show up after the crime occurs.
For Bella,
Just giving us words and not seeing action behind it is not okay anymore.
she sees this gathering in a positive light, pointing to the lives ended across the country as a reason to act.
There have just been so many names and so many people, and it just keeps happening.
And for many others here, this is a moment to remember and a way to change the world in which their children live.
Nobody gets to look back and say, like, he was part of this, making this happen, and that things really are different. And he says, I was there for that.
Alright, so how do you guys feel about that video we just watched? Please comment and let me know how you feel. And for you Trump supporters, I have not forgotten about you. In this next video, we are going on the other side of this argument to the Trump MAGA side, and we're about to see what their argument is all about. So in this clip, I want you guys to pay attention to it.
Students, this is bigger than just the economy.
Before even becoming a conservative, I started to feel like I was a victim. But once I got out of that victim mentality, I actually started thriving.
My biggest pet peeve is when people say, we've made no progress since slavery. Are you kidding me?
A lot of what I heard today was the narrative that Democrats really don't care about Black people.
We sit in these really bad, dilapidated, broken communities. Democrat policies have continuously been implemented, and they have not worked.
Welfare reform is on the president's to-do list. And this gets to the core of conservatism, that liberal policies unintentionally do more harm than good. After LBJ created social programs like food stamps and Medicare in the 60s, the rate of Black economic progress actually slowed down. They made progress, but not as quickly as in the 5 years before these programs started. Still, there are far fewer Black people in poverty today than there were back then. But even if conservatives are right about welfare holding folks back, sometimes Trump makes things complicated.
After Charlottesville, when he said there were fine people on both sides, do you think that was racist?
No one likes to see Nazis parading around singing Blood and Soil. That could have been handled a lot better.
Trump sometimes says things in the wrong way. I never feel like he's personally attacking the Black community.
Not all Black conservatives agree. We met up with Quadricos Driscoll. He's a Republican who teaches religion and politics at GW.
Do you think it's fair to call Trump a racist?
I think it's fair to call Trump racist. But yes, how I define racism is about power structures that prevent access to certain things. And so when we look at his policies and when we start to look at his rhetoric, it falls in line to what racism is.
Why do you think we see such vitriol coming from other members of the Black community directed at people within this young Black conservative movement?
That is one thing I never agreed with. Black conservatives aren't going away.
He's right. This isn't some new trend. Then why are there so many culturally conservative African Americans who don't vote Republican? Well, it goes back to the end of slavery, when Black people did vote red. But just as they became Republican leaders in the 1930s, Hoover's administration kicked them out to appeal to Southern racists. It's when Roosevelt's New Deal came along that minorities saw a chance to turn their misfortunes around. And when Republican presidential nominee Barry Goldwater opposed the Civil Rights Act, that's when many Black voters switched to loyal Democrats.
Being a Black conservative, you kind of feel like you're the only one.
People have been really crazy, especially Black people. I had some people tell me to bleach my skin, kill myself, you're a coon, you're Uncle Tom.
It's like one thing to be called those things by like white people. When it's within your own community, it hurts.
And then there's Kanye. You didn't think we'd forget about him, did you? Before his fallout with Candace Owens, people here appreciated the visibility he lent to the cause and the MAGA hat.
This is our president!
I noticed on your Twitter you had that post about wearing your MAGA hat for the first time.
Yes, which was yesterday. It's giving me courage to stand up for what I believe in.
Here's the thing about the hat. When these guys wear it, it's an act of defiance that says we're not Democrats and we are not invisible. Look, people are messy. Too messy for the simple little boxes society wants to put us in. And if someone doesn't fit, it's becoming much easier to dismiss the unknown rather than try to understand it.
So in conclusion, I hope you guys and gals really enjoyed the time we had together of trying to understand one another's viewpoints and trying to build that bridge of understanding so we can have conversation. And just know that COVID-19 is not going to stop us from coming together. Just know that. Until next time, please tune in, subscribe, share, and stay in touch with me because I will stay in touch with you. And until next time.